Hello, and welcome to another ohmTown on Twitch. ohmTown is a news aggregation site, and it looks like this. Whoa, wait a minute. Why is that highlighted? 1 second. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. That was interesting. It looks like that. Well, hey, I guess something new every day. I am Mayor Watt. At least I go by that on Twitch as I go from one streamer to another. I don't think that's going to be too loud, that music. I can still hear it, but it may not be loud enough for you all to hear it. So if you find this VOD and you find it interesting, let me know. So what I do each day between 6 and 7 is I take a sample of the news that ohmTown aggregates. And at the beginning of each of these shows, I give a quick rundown of what ohmTown really is. ohmTown is a bit of resistance in the wire. It's a little community that I'm starting up, hoping that people will find it interesting and compelling enough to join, and also join me here on Twitch. Right now, I just do an hour a show, and I'm trying to get to 50 hours or longer. It really depends on how long the show and how people are interactive with me. I've been doing this now for 20 days, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock every single day, 6 o'clock Eastern. And what ohmTown is, like I mentioned earlier, that little bit of resistance, is actually a news aggregation site. And it's aggregated into 6 main categories. Each one of these categories has groups, and each one of those groups has discussion boards, forums, where the news is filtered into. And so, for instance, when you click on ohmTown, it will, oddly enough, be populated with something new pretty much every time. And that's because it aggregates somewhere close to 200 news sources. At its peak, sometimes I don't have everything active. But I'm going to go through a little bit of the news that is aggregated by ohmTown. And while there is an option for submissions, it is primarily from major news sources provided into the various categories. And from there, you can make comments in the forums themselves. And if you're curious about these categories, feel free to throw something in chat and ask questions. I tend not to plan anything. I've grabbed a few select headlines, but other than that, I don't read the articles beforehand. If I know about something, then I can give some context to it. But usually what happens is I'm reading something for the first time, or I have some historical context to it, and I can expound upon it. My major areas of interest can be summarized into 3 main categories, and they are business, technology, and society. I merge the 3 in what I do every day, and that's outside of me streaming on Twitch. So let's get into this. Essentially, I go through these headlines for an hour, and every once in a while somebody comes into my channel and asks questions. I think that's great. I really do riff off of that more than anything. That's the one thing that energizes me more than anything. And eventually I'll find some hosts and co-hosts for the rest of the shows. I certainly can't do everything, at least not while working full time. And I've got a business. My business runs parallel to this. So feel free to stop by. If you follow me, that would be great. I think I've only got something like 12 followers. And I've actually been passively on here for a while. I just haven't been streaming regularly. Yeah, like many people, there have been struggles. Not as bad as others, but then again, we all deal with it differently. That said, the news runs every one of these categories typically each time I stream. So you're going to see a pretty broad gamut of news. So this first one that I picked, I saw earlier today, which was the real, it was a video of a reporter being hit by a car. And it says here, this little snippet, which is the only thing that ohmTown aggregates. It grabs a little bit of the news and then creates a link to the source. I want you to go to the source. I want you to leave ohmTown.com, but I would like you to come back where you can vote and make comments once you log in. I don't log in. I also don't have any ads displayed because I'm the administrator of the site. And this is pretty much standard stuff that I say at the beginning of my stream. So with that in mind, let's see if I can take another step forward. I watched this video and basically the reporter was in the dark. And let me click the link. I won't go through the whole thing, but so this reporter, and this is something that I've witnessed myself. I've spoken to reporters about this, and a lot of reporters now are being sent out all by themselves with a production quality camera, or in some instances, they're just telling people, go take your iPhone and go and stick it on a tripod, or, prop it up in a tree branch, whatever the case may be, just get the story. But in this case, this reporter apparently was out there by themselves, and you can't be focused on the world around you when you're staring into a camera with a camera light pointing into your eyes. And sure enough, this reporter got hit. Obviously, you should go to the New York Times if you're following this link. I've seen it on Reddit as well. But apparently, like this says, TV reporters responding to footage of a West Virginia journalist being hit by an SUV said stations should be more careful about sending reporters out alone. And that's what I was stating earlier. I have seen reporters, and reporters have come to me, and it's just them, no extra people. In other instances, it's 2 or 3 people. But it's really hard on somebody to try and manage everything for a story that would either be live at the time or recorded for broadcast later. Yet the immediacy of that moment they have to get, right? Well, what they do is they run out there, they put up a tripod, they stick their camera on it, they start rolling, they tell their story, they shut it all down because time is money, and then they get out of Dodge. But in this case, didn't mean to say that. So anyway, I wasn't trying to be punny, but she got hit by an SUV. And if there would have been a camera person on the other side of that camera, which apparently the reporter apparently didn't have it, they would have seen something happening and hopefully told the reporter to look out. I don't know what all just happened, but apparently she definitely did get hit by the car. And I think, I don't think anything's going to change this status quo. 2 people are twice as expensive. So it's pretty much going to be like this unless the industry changes. And this has been happening over years of time now. It's slowly been whittling away the multitude of people that would go out to a scene. And now we're down to just one person and an iPhone. Not necessarily in this case. I don't know what equipment they had, but they shouldn't be out there alone. You just never know what could happen, like getting hit by a car. I just found out about this one, which is Alec Baldwin is being sued by a family of a U.S. Marine killed in Afghanistan. The hidden context here is that he's not being sued just because of this. It's an interesting article at The Hill. If you click the link, you'll get taken there. And what it comes down to is Alec Baldwin said something about the family being at the January 6th. Depending on which side of the fence you're on, it was a riot or it was an insurrection. Several people are now being charged with insurrection, conspiracy. And Alec Baldwin had donated to the fallen soldier's family, only to find out later that the family was at the riot, at the Capitol insurrection, and responded via a tweet, as you know, all things should be, that if he had known that, what was the thing? So if he had known that it was that family, maybe he wouldn't have donated. Are you the same woman, quote, are you the same woman that I sent the cash to for your sister's husband, who was killed during the Afghanistan exit? Which as a tweet just sucks anyway. But it wasn't a tweet. It was in a post somewhere. And then continued to say, when I sent the cash for your late brother out of real respect for his service to this country, I didn't know you were a January 6th rioter. And frankly, that doesn't change the fact that that soldier fell in Afghanistan, fighting for what? Well, we were getting out of there. And so the fight was pretty much done. And unfortunately, many people lost their lives, and donating to that person's family was a good thing and should never have been redressed. It really doesn't matter what the family ended up doing later. It just doesn't matter. He gave it out of the kindness of his heart, only to find out that to him, these people were doing something he didn't respect. But, if I give a gift to somebody and they're a tool about it, what are you supposed to do? You gave a gift. How about do a little bit more due diligence, and donate to good causes that you feel are good causes, that have maybe provenance, that have history, that have long-term earned respect. And in this particular instance, this person who passed away, who was killed in action, for crying out loud, earned your respect. You should have just left it alone. Just donate the money and the whole, just to not to turn that. Okay. So I'll just say it, the sins of the father are not passed down to the son. Just because the family was protesting doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. Now, if they were sitting there breaking into the buildings, then that's another matter. But the money was given because a soldier fell. But I know that now it's going to temper, this person's wealth in a different way, and maybe not donate so freely. And, that's kind of the bad thing. I hope that he sees past this and those people that he doesn't agree with, while others do agree with it. I don't think storming the castle is something that should be done in this day and age, particularly based on hype and lies. So Supreme Court rebuffs abortion providers again over Texas 6-week ban. I don't really tend to go into politics so much on the stream. I try to minimize how much, but this actually has a societal impact. So most people don't realize that they're pregnant around the 6-week period. And that's the most simple statement that I can make about this. Arguably, on the other side of this is I don't think anybody should tell another person what they can do with their body, particularly when it comes to pregnancy. I don't agree with anybody, particularly the state, saying that somebody has to carry full term because of whatever reason. I frankly don't care. If a woman wants to terminate their pregnancy, they should be able to. It may make me unpopular with many, but I have a definite opinion about it. And maybe I shouldn't be posting it on a VOD on Twitch to an audience that may not care or doesn't want to hear it. But I have a real problem with, turning to somebody who's pregnant and saying, tough, you have to carry. Because there's so many reasons. And the context changes, and you'll hear me say that context matters as to why somebody is doing something. And it isn't something that they just wake up one day and go, I'm going to have an abortion. Nope. They wallow in trying to figure out how it happened, why it happened. And it's easy to just disclaim, we know how it happened and we know why it happened. But that's not really the case. And there's all kinds of other contexts that play into having an abortion. Yes, a lot of them are simply because somebody was having unprotected sex. But for crying out loud, there's so many other reasons. And get some fidelity in the law. Don't just use it as a blanket application to everything. Because the law isn't leveraged against everybody the same way. And a lot of it has to do with financial wealth, political wealth, influence, and the context of the act. So I think that this should be addressed again, and we'll see. I'm all for states having control over things, but this is definitely one that punishes women. And yes, I know the minutia of the concerns. I'm happy to talk about them if you want to talk about them, but make it a reasonable discussion. So feel free to throw something in chat if you're interested in talking about this or anything else that we end up talking about, or me presenting here in this show, this episode. So we will see this come again as society brushes up against state politics and the new Supreme Court. On a lighter note, Iron Chef is being rebooted by Netflix. I always loved watching this show. It was a lot of fun. As things go, like I mentioned yesterday, whenever something starts to fade away or is demonstrated to be historically appreciated, right? The stats were high for it. There was a lot of engagement by the audience. When it comes back or when somebody decides to resurrect it, it's always something bigger. I mean, or if something if something continues on too long, they pivot it into this extreme home makeover type of thing where, by the end of Extreme Home Makeover, like I said yesterday, they were basically, resurrecting holding a seance because it wasn't fantastic enough simply to do good. You had to make it just explosively interesting by making it right there, like I've got highlighted, supersized. You just have to make it bigger. So we'll see, what really happens with this, but this is just a cooking show. So I hope what comes out of it is really good recipes and a neat discussion about the products that are being used. I love hearing about some spice or some food that's being used in a different way or something interesting. I watch cooking shows I watch cooking episodes on YouTube quite a bit. But we'll see. It was a fun show, and we'll see what happens with it when it comes back. So let me know what you think of Iron Chef being rebooted as Iron Chef Quest for an Iron Legend. Interesting. The legendary Iron Chef series is reborn with a supersized approach. So this article is actually coming out of Variety. If you click the link, you'll get taken there, just like I've said in the previous little snippets. Go and check out the site. Go and sign up at ohmTown.com, become a citizen. It's gamified. You'll earn points. Those channel points will be translated into points over on Twitch as well. I haven't got it all integrated yet, but I'm working on it. But rest assured, if you sign up on either place and link the accounts, it'll all blend together. But enough of that. Let's move on to the next article. This is called The Word in Tech. It is a show that I'm hoping to put together. Basically, it focuses on some particular aspect of technology, a word, just like it says in the title. And in this instance, it's Elon Musk's Neuralink is hiring a clinical trial director. And if you've never heard of Neuralink, Neuralink seeks to be a cortical modem, basically an embedded human computer interface system. When I first heard about it, it was referred to as something like 3 stacked dimes that get embedded in your body. I'm going to click this link. It's at The Verge. The last time I saw something involving this, it was about pigs that had been used as examples, trials for the Neuralink. I would love to have speed of thought interactions with a computer, but the medical experimentation that I have seen, where it's human to artificial part direct integration, has historically been messy. Like, I've seen things that are embedded in people's heads, in their brain, that leads to a thing that's straight out of the matrix, like that little connector and electrodes, not electrodes, they were actual contacts that a person could connect. Yeah, they were like little connectors, and you could just click into place a puck that had more wires, and it would interface with the person's brain. And the reports of this research was that it would always be infected, and it would always be a mess. I'll just say a mess. It might turn too many people off when I say what really was going on. But maybe we've got some newer technologies. We've got some newer materials for sure. And embedding something like a cortical modem will allow human to computer interactions at the speed of thought. And if we do, then we are that much closer to basically cybernetic technology and maybe cyberpunk, and be able to traverse a three-dimensional net of computers, much like looking at computer screens, except that it's directly in our head and not in a display, which would be fantastic. But this has many more enabling capabilities. So here's to continuing this project. I would really like to see it continue on. The price of this is going to be outrageous, just phenomenally outrageous. And I can imagine that somebody's seeking a way to monetize it in the long term. Even after you pay for it, you have to pay a licensing fee just to turn on the lights in your own house using a Neuralink. Who knows? You know, when I was younger, we joked about the idea of having to have separate applications or fees just to access something. And here we are with 15 different apps to access different channels that would normally be broadcast over the air to a TV. We don't know what will be capitalized on, but we definitely love the technology, don't we? So let's see what happens with that. Now, PlayStation 5 is available once again at, it's gone. Just kidding. I really don't know what the result is right now, but if you were to go over to Best Buy, you might be able to get a PlayStation 5 for $500. I'm not a console player. I'm a PC kind of a person. And in that vein, I have I have Linux, I have Windows, I have Mac, I have iOS, I have Android, Pi and Linux machines elsewhere, and IoT stuff and blah, blah, blah. So the one thing that I don't have, I've never gotten into it, is consoles. And I'm not sure why that is. I just think that maybe for me, the PC can do everything that I want it to do. And I've never really been driven towards consoles. I like the idea of Sea of Thieves, but it's definitely a console game that's been ported over to the PC. And my interaction with console games that have been ported over to the PC have always felt kludgy, you know, and I've been trying these games for a long time. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but console games definitely have a huge following, and the graphics are amazing, and the ability to build a game that is kind of encapsulated in that space is like a PC, right? I mean, a PlayStation 5 basically is a PC. It's just that interface in that little controller. Coding for that is amazing. Technology and user interface, user experience design is spectacular. So I definitely do appreciate it, but it just doesn't seem to be for me. But try and get a PlayStation. Come back and let me know if you got it. And then I'll feel better about joking about PlayStation 5s being out of stock already before I finish saying the title of that article. This article, I didn't say where it came from. Doggone it. Well, anyway, the last article, I didn't say where it came from. This article is from Apple Insider. Epic claims App Store antitrust trial judge made too many legal mistakes in her ruling. So, like all things with enough money, you can continue to fight the fight, hoping for a different end. We shall see what all happens. Thursday's appeal filing by Epic claims that Judge Gonzalez Roberts erred in her Epic versus Apple antitrust rulings and is asking the appeals court to force a retrial before the same judge. And nothing goes over better than telling a judge that they erred and to review your review. Pardon me. I'm trying to head off the dry air with, I don't have a sponsorship or anything, but I'm drinking Ahas. They're pretty yummy. Tastes pretty good. Sparkling water. And so we'll see what happens with this as well. Everybody's watching all of this stuff, different people watching it. But if you are interested in this and you're following it and you want to say something about it, I can pull you onto the channel and throw you up there above the chat. Or you can throw something in chat and give me your opinion. Let me know what you think of this. The appeal filing claims that Apple unlawfully maintains its monopolies in the iOS app distribution and in-app payment solutions markets by expressly excluding all competitors. So that's not exactly true. But I have to agree more on the Apple side because Apple actually lets developers create all kinds of stuff and put it on the App Store. But what they don't do is apparently they don't allow duplicative stuff and they don't allow the sale of products and services through their App Store, but without compensating the App Store for that transaction. And that would be akin to me, saying that that's wrong is akin to me inviting you into my house and then you do a business transaction without cutting me any part of that deal. And then continuing to do that. If it were a one-time thing, sure, everything's fine. I probably could care less. But when you are using my house as the vehicle to attract customers and you're doing transactions within my house, you have to wonder why anybody would say, I think that you're being irrational about me doing business in your house. I'm just doing business in your house. Why are you stifling me? It just seems like a weird thing. If you are conducting business, if you have millions of consumers, customers, clients that you've acquired through the App Store, why not pay the App Store for providing you a means to reach those customers? I see absolutely no problem with it. Well, various software companies are spinning up their own app stores. What do I have on my system right now? I have Epic, which I don't know if they allow Apple products to be sold through the Epic store, but even if it did, it would be even if they said to, yeah, sure, it would be self-serving because they would get a piece of the action of any transaction that takes place. I've got Origin on here. I've got Steam on here. What else? I know that I've misplaced a few. A new one was just installed. Oh, Rockstar is on here. Oh, I don't know. There's others. But if you're using somebody else's app store and getting customers from it, everybody needs to know value for value, service for service. If you enjoy this this stream, clicking follow so that I can get to 50 followers at least, and continue growing, shows interest, right? And to me, that value of me talking about this news and you clicking that button, is value for value. So if you were doing transactions, if you were selling your channel on my channel, or if I were going to your channel and selling my channel on yours, you would probably be upset, or you would want something in return. Sometimes it's goodwill. You know, I've donated, I've gifted subscriptions to people, all over, Twitch, you know, not the most, definitely not the least, and I've sought nothing in return. Well, I'm not selling anything, I'm giving it. And when you're using an app store, you're posting it on there and they are giving you customers. And then you are compensating them for that exchange. Value for value. So, like I was saying, there's nothing like telling a trial judge that they've made mistakes and then saying, you should hear us again. And that normally doesn't go over well, but it's big money being thrown around, so we'll see what happens. The owner of Southern California coffee farm Blue Tail Coffee Grove has opened a roastery, cafe, beer, and wine bar in San Diego called Breakers Coffee and Wine. So this is coming from dailycoffeenews.com. If you've never been to San Diego, you should check it out. I used to live there. Great weather pretty much all the time. Over time, it has turned more and more into cement pavement, and houses all over the place, and it's outrageously expensive housing. Let me close this. But I thought it was neat that they have this little room within the establishment and some nice aesthetic, some nice aesthetics inside, and obviously outside. The place is always beautiful. San Diego is a great place to visit. So if you're in the area, swing by. I don't have a deal with them. I'm not sponsored by them. I used to live in San Diego, so I thought it was neat to read this little article. But a lot of businesses start up and flame out pretty quick. So if you're in the area, let me know if this disappears. I'm not sure if I'll ever return to San Diego. But it was such a small world almost immediately because I saw one of the places I used to live. So my business, when I'm not doing my full-time gig, I do strategic management consulting. I help people solve their business problems. I create new products and services. And this was ingested into that group. So if you go to ohmTown.com and you click on the Hatch Ideas category, you will get taken to the discussion boards. So this Better.com CEO who fired employees over Zoom returns to work after the hiatus. This was an interesting thing that went viral. For whatever reason, this person put a whole bunch of people on a Zoom call and then said, if you're here, you're fired. And this is the last day. You'll get your checks in the mail. Now, nothing says testing the waters of tolerance and attention like pausing somebody for a couple of months. Hey, you did something socially unacceptable. Why don't you take a break? And so off they went somewhere, saying he had reflected on his leadership style and received executive coaching during his time off. Great. But I feel like this would be a landmine or a minefield kind of a situation where you just don't know where the leadership style and coaching didn't quite cover enough, and that professional courtesy will fall away again, and you end up with something else requiring you to take a hiatus. But here's to better.com giving it another go with the CEO. I wonder what the board was saying when this went off. Firing more than 900 employees by just a single mass video chat. It's shocking. It's shocking to me, but I've never had to fire 900 people. It would be tough to do that one-on-one. So I suppose you can just line them all up and just like push them into the pool at once. Say, haha, suckers. It's a real bummer. So there's not much that can really be said about it. There's better ways to do it. Definitely less than stellar to fire everybody in a way. And it could go it went viral. So it was easy to go viral because it was just a Zoom call. All right, let's continue on. So introducing new gradient editions of the Hamilton Jazzmaster Open Heart 40 millimeter. This is a group called Band to Bezel. I really like watches. I like the technical sophistication of them, and they're pretty much beautiful pieces of art. Some of them are outrageously expensive, and I'll probably never be able to justify purchasing one. But this one is, it's the source of this is monochrome-watches.com. And it has what's called a partial skeleton. So this little opening shows the workings inside. And this is probably a render, but being able to see the insides of a watch is really neat. And I love skeleton watches. Those are the kind of watches that I like to get. I don't have many, but all of this looks like renders. The lighting is just too specific. Now I really want to see a physical watch. The lighting is just, the photography, if this is photography, is spectacular. And this one looks like it might be a photograph because you can see the fuzz on the seat or whatever it is it's sitting on. But this is amazing photography. It really is. It's really fascinating. Anyway, 40 millimeter watch. I'm not sure what the price is here in the States. It says it's 950 euro. So you're looking at 1,100, 1,200 bucks here in the States. Maybe a little more. But they call it the Hamilton Jazzmaster Open Heart 40 millimeter. I'd probably get it with the stainless steel. But then again, my attire pretty much would clash with all of this. But this, it would be invisible. Sorry, you can't see my cursor. But with the leather bands, it would clash to some degree. But with the stainless steel, it just blends in. It's not a big deal. So neat watch. I am very interested in the technology behind it. I'm very into smartwatches more than the more mechanical, non-smart watches. That doesn't really matter, right? If you're interested in watches, go to Band to Bezel. Most of the time, when you see the name like Band to Bezel and you type it into a browser, bandtobezel.com, it should take you straight to this. And the same goes for other groups. I own domains like Stock Marketeers will take you to this group's discussion board. If it doesn't, then I'll have to fix something, but for the most part, it should. And Stock Marketeers, earnings results. Netflix predicts slump in subscriber growth to start 2022, and the stock plunged. So Netflix brought in more than 8 million new subscribers in the holiday quarter, but executives predicted that growth would suffer much more than expected at the beginning of 2022. This article is from MarketWatch. When you click the link, it'll take you there. Definitely go over to MarketWatch and read it. Obviously, when they report that there's probably going to be a shortfall in subscribers, the stocks take a hit. And this is pretty standard fare. It went down 1.48%. And in the grand scheme of things, it will continue to climb back up. It's not going anywhere. If anything, Netflix might be acquired by somebody like Microsoft or Facebook, but there's a lot of money in this. So I don't think that anybody's going to be purchasing them anytime soon. I think it was Blockbuster that had their chance. Netflix shares plummeted nearly 20% in after-hours trading following the announcement on Thursday, which would lop off nearly $45 billion in market capitalization from the streaming giant, which ended Thursday trading sessions worth more than $225 billion. So the stock is down 12% over the past 12 months. They've raised their prices too, so I'm not sure really what is going to happen. But they're spending money like crazy building hits after hit. So they will not, I don't think, unless somebody drives that boat straight into the rocks, they'll be fine. They'll be just fine. I'm curious why this is. Yeah, let me click something here. So this is all after hours. Interesting. Well, we shall see what happens in the morning. But there's a lot of money that's changing hands, apparently. Everybody's selling to get either mitigate their losses or to, I don't know, maybe short something. I'm not sure what's going on. I'd have to look deeper, but suffice it to say, Netflix isn't going anywhere. Not for a while. So this is a composite article that's from Above the Law. It's titled Parole Denied for an Assassin, Several Steps Forward, the Emoji Defense, and Sing It, Aretha. So when you click the link, it'll take you over there and you'll have to go through this whole article to catch on to what is going on. And like I say at the beginning of my stream, I don't really prepare for this. I like to vamp. So let's see. Most ATL readers, except for dinosaur lawyer readers, are way too young to remember the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, both happening within 2 months of each other in '68. I don't know about that. I mean, MLK Jr., I'm pretty sure. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with what is going on in academia, the upper levels of academia, and society in general, I would say that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s impact on society is continuing to be well known. Without a doubt, I'm going to just say without a doubt, it's still being felt. Not sure about Kennedy. Kennedy's, I can't really frame it other than Kennedy was beloved at the time. I mean, but as time has gone on, that, at least to me, the appearance of relevance has faded. But Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Fought for rights across the board for people of color, and his words live on. He was capable of turning a phrase so well that it was hard to ignore the statements that he was making, and hard to ignore the concepts that were being proffered up. Kennedy was a very good public speaker as well, charismatic leader. So I'm sure most people know who both of them are. Even the youngest. I mean, if you talk to fifth graders, and you'll probably get an answer that they know who Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy are, to some degree. At any rate, King's murderer, James Earl Ray, died in prison. But Kennedy's is still alive, apparently, in a California prison. Yeah, articles that are about these guys, I don't know. They are convicted murderers. I don't think that they should gain any notoriety. But we also need to know for sure who all was involved and what exactly went down. So anyway, go over to Above the Law, read that article. It's got quite a bit in it. And I hope you found that article interesting. Yeah, I never pronounced this correct. I think it's Hermes. Lawsuit concerning NFT-based infringement should be in the bag. The case should cause brands to not sit around and wait for this type of infringement to occur. So this article is from Above the Law as well. I thought it was kind of a pithy title because of Hermes bag. Should be in the bag. I don't know. It's a dad joke. A legal dad joke. If you've never heard of NFTs, basically non-fungible tokens, you can buy and sell them for Ethereum on OpenSea, and it's quite fascinating. They're talking. They say at the beginning of this, which stand for non-fungible tokens, has been described as the Wild Wild West. I can't count how many times I've heard the Wild Wild West, and then when somebody who is a historian hears that, they kind of cringe and they say, it wasn't as wild as everybody thinks. But then when you read the stories and history about the Wild Wild West, it was Wild Wild West. I don't know what to believe anymore. And they go into Ethereum about this. But anything that utilizes a trademark or artwork, and they even talk about OpenSea here, you'll end up in trouble. So all it takes is somebody popping up on somebody else's radar, and off you go. What is this? An individual who engaged in the distribution and sale of Meta Birkin's NFT project has been sued by Hermes International and Hermes or what? And Hermes or Paris Incorporated in the United States. Okay. So I'm not going to go over to that site. Feel free to go over to metabirkins.com if you are interested to see what that's all about. But it says they claim that the NFT collection is inspired by the acceleration of fashion's fur-free initiatives and embrace of alternative textiles. So I'm not quite sure what is going on with this. And I'll have to do some due diligence in this and see. Defendant's adoption of the Meta Birkins trademark has brought him great financial success. It's all about a trademark. And obviously, if you tread on somebody's trademark, they must defend it and they have to do it legally. So you either end up in court or you capitulate to a demand letter. I would not be surprised if capitulation is on the horizon. This case should be in the bag for Hermes, but it also should cause brands to not sit around and wait for this type of infringement to occur. Yeah, NFTs are largely unmonitored, so I'm sure that there's somebody that's going to start monitoring them as a service. Because if it violates a trademark or it leads to the violation of a copyright, there is a lot of actionable stuff going on, and we just don't know about it until it pops up. So ultimately, I've got two more titles to talk about. Ecliptic Brewing is launching a new West Coast IPA at the end of January. Lego West Coast IPA will be available in 16-ounce cans. So this is coming from thefullpint.com. Again, none of these websites have any agreement with me. I'm not promoting them. I'm just talking about the news. This gets pulled into Of the Brew. It's basically a group that is going to focus on beer. It's ultimately the Order of the Brew, and I will be making hats and bumper stickers and stuff like that if this gains traction and people are interested in it. But it's basically a group that's talking about brew and beer and brewing in general, the equipment and the technique and the various versions of beer that can be created from just a few ingredients, and it all depends on how it's all put together and for how long. And it's quite fascinating that you can get such diversity out of just a few things. Kind of like DNA, it's only a few elements and it turns us all into what we are. So if you're interested in finding out more about it, go over to The Full Pint and you'll find out about Ecliptic Brewing announcing its new West Coast IPA, Lego West Coast IPA. And if you're interested in beer, come and talk to me. I am looking for a host or a co-host for a 1-hour show each week. But for now, that's where we're gonna leave the Order of the Brew. This last article is a political one. I didn't intend for it to be a political um, a button at the end of this, but here we go. So Mobble is the mobile mob. It's all about submitting news. It used to be, as I've said in previous VODs, that I started up an app that was dedicated to aggregating news from individuals wherever they were. And so it intended to be hyperlocal. It didn't really make manifest in any real way. So I've integrated into ohmTown as an element of aggregation. So if you are part of the mobile mob, Mobble would be for you. And if you go to mobble.com, it'll forward you over to ohmTown. It should. I'm not sure if I got all of them, but at one point I had hundreds of domains. Hannity, after January 6th, texted McEnany, no more stolen election talk in 5-point plan for Trump. I find it fascinating that a year later we are still talking about this, even though there is a ton of information that's already known, and people are still being brought to justice for their actions on January 6th to storm and destroy and cause actions that ultimately led to people dying is astonishing in the 21st century. And it was largely without guns. I mean, all of this harm was done without anybody firing weapons. It's weird. I mean, people really were incited to the point where they think that the election is stolen, that the country's being taken over, and no court has had any evidence brought before it that substantiates the claims, wherein that court is hearing evidence. That there's zero outcomes that agree with the narrative. I mean, it's just absurd. It's absurd. And I have no problem with people protesting. All the more power to anybody who protests. Social justice needs to take place. If you feel that there is a wrong, then you should be able to protest. You should fight for the causes you believe in. But if you go to court, if you try to hold somebody accountable, you had better have rock solid evidence that is a cogent statement, unlike my presentations here. And it needs to be substantial enough that a little bit of critical thinking doesn't just do away with it. There isn't any evidence of a stolen election. When you look at it, when you understand how elections take place, there is zero evidence of stolen elections. But, you know, we'll be dealing with this for a long time. But it takes critical thinking. It takes due diligence. It takes looking at the evidence with a critical mind instead of just, you know, Bob's post on Facebook. That just doesn't cut it. So good luck to us all. It's going to be an interesting few years. Who knows how long this is going to last. So this article over on the Hill goes into greater detail about it. A letter from the panel to Ivanka Trump includes portions of text exchanges from Hannity and then White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who has since returned to Fox. That revolving door, let me tell you. But there's always more news. And tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I will do another show from 6 to 7 Eastern. And with that, I will say good night. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to come back on Friday at 6 p.m. You can throw them in chat now if you want to. I'm always available via the ohmTown.com site. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube, but I haven't posted anything. So like I exist there. Haven't gotten around to integrating everything into something that is seamless. So I'm still working on it. Little bit by little bit, I'm moving this needle forward. So I will see you all soon. Thanks for watching the VOD. If you're watching the VOD, thanks for coming to my chat. If you're in my chat, I think I'm going to say good night for the third time. Good night, everybody. Have a good day. Tomorrow is Friday.